Hello, happy Tuesday, January the 23rd. I hope you are enjoying your week. And if you're in my local area, I hope you're digging out from all the snow. It looks like it's all gone now, and life will get somewhat back to normal tomorrow. So, today we're continuing our book club session where we're reviewing Fork in the Road by Dr. Jen Unwin. We've already covered kind of the intro and then chapter one, determining if we're food addicts or not. And today we're going to head right into chapter two, your passport to recovery, which is talking about the recovery journey. So she starts just that very first section that the rules for recovering from carb addiction are simple. They are extremely simple, but they're not easy. And the rules are no sugar, no flour, no processed foods, no trigger foods. And a lot of people initially will hear that and they're like, no, that is too restrictive. I can never do that. How dare you completely remove these products? However, if you're looking at these foods from an addiction side of things, addiction things, you can't moderate addictive things. And your freedom actually comes when you take them out. So when that alcoholic stops removing and stops drinking alcohol, so removes alcohol, stops drinking it, that's when their freedom begins. That's when they can go live life. They can do other things. Well, carbohydrate addiction is the same way. When we remove those things, that's when our freedom begins. And so it's not restrictive. It's not feeling like, oh, woe is me, I can't have bread, or woe is me, I cannot have a Snicker bar. I don't regret not having a Snicker bar, not for a moment, because when I had that Snicker bar, that's when I was trapped. That's when things were not good for me because I was trapped in an unhealthy place. So freedom begins when we accept those rules. So they're simple rules: no sugar, no flour, no processed foods, no trigger foods, period. Not one bite, not one taste, not the first time. Even though it is a simple rule, and that's not easy to follow, is it? And she says it's not easy because your primitive brain will drive you and trick your willpower and logic at every turn to reach for those drug foods multiple times a day, particularly in the beginning. But her message of hope is it gets easier. It really, really does get easier. And I can attest to that as well. So let's flip over page 38 to the next one in that second paragraph. So she's going to use the analogy of a journey to help us explore this dream destination of food freedom. And she's going to go through what you'll need to take with you, your stopovers, your travel. Now, when we're talking about weight loss here in the clinic, we often compare it to a journey, and we tell you progress, not perfection, and the fact that this is a journey. And when you think about going on a vacation, there's some parts of getting to vacation that are smooth and easy, and then there's other parts that are not smooth and easy and are harder. And your journey to food freedom is the same exact way. So let's imagine that dream destination. And it's very important to visualize this. And so your first task, per Dr. Unwin, is the first task is to allow yourself to think about how you would like your carb-free life to look like in 6 months, a year, or 5 years from now. So you may think it's silly to imagine and visualize things, but it's not. But at this point, don't think about how you're going to get there. Just imagine what the end goal is looking like. Imagine that freedom from carbohydrates and sugar and these foods that are holding you hostage. Imagine what life could look like. What would liberation be? What would you do when you're liberated from these foods? If your main goal is weight loss, what does that look like after you lose weight? How's that going to make a difference in your daily life? How do you feel? How do you think? What do other people notice about you? What's the first thing you're going to wake up and think about in the morning when it's not food? Those are the things. That mental image is what's going to drive you on those moments when your body and your willpower is getting tricked by those drug substances to want to eat them. That mental picture. So moving on, page 39, write down your thoughts or talk them through with someone who cares. It's important to write them down because in the moment when you're thinking, oh man, that smells good. Oh, I really want that. I deserve that. I've been so good. One bite's not going to hurt. You have to remember what that food freedom place looks like. And sometimes reading it is the best way to remember it, or calling that safe person and saying, I need you to tell me why I'm doing this again. What's the end goal look like? So I loved this analogy that she got from a colleague of hers. The analogy is, it's a long day on the golf course if you don't know where the hole is. Same thing with our health journey and our food freedom journey. If you don't know where you're headed, you're just going around aimlessly, and you never know when you're going to get there. And so then it seems never ended. So you have to have a good idea of where you're heading if you're going to stay on track for this long journey. And it is a long journey. It's a lifelong journey. So let's talk about packing for our trip, this imaginary trip that we're going to take. What and who are you going to take on your recovery journey? You need to pack your bag with all your best emergency supplies. Now is the time to gather all the useful resources you can and keep them close to you. So I often talk about my emergency go bag, and it's in my purse, and it's got beef sticks, and it's got all these things in it. That's my emergency food that I can keep. That was something that I planned, and part of my journey was I have to keep these with me because I have to have safe foods accessible to me at all times. But let's move on to see what Jen says. This fourth paragraph, actually, on page 39. Have you had any time in your life when you were more in control of your carb addiction? We got to pull from our past. We all have strengths. We all have things we need to pull from it. So, for example, Jen knew that she could not have drug foods in the house. I did too. Those Snicker bars can't come in the house. And that she feels mentally stronger when she exercises. So when she's moving, she feels more in a place where she can make those positive decisions. Those are already things that she's seen that worked well for you. So, if there's something that works well, don't change that. Keep that, but build on that strength. So what's worked well for you in your past when you've had times of success, whether it was one day or 15 days or a year? What was going on during that point? What were the things that you did that kept you on track? Now she says, don't be shy. What are your personal strengths and how can you use them? And she uses herself as an example. She's always been a very organized and a timetabled person. Sounds kind of type A like myself. So how about you? Are you determined? Are you stubborn? Are you organized? Are you sociable? Most of us probably not thought about being stubborn as a good quality, but when it comes to food freedom and changing health habits, it is absolutely a good quality to have because you make up your mind, this is what I'm going to do, and that stubbornness kicks in and we don't change it. So what would others say is your greatest character asset? How can those be brought to bear into your recovery journal? If you're struggling, there is a free test online. It says see chapter 7. So that's later on. And if you feel like you can't identify your strengths, go look in chapter 7 and go to that online test and take it and see what it points to as your strengths that you can pull on for this recovery journey. So now let's flip over to page 40, and we're going to go to the first stopover. So she says this might be a cheesy and overused phrase, but the journey of 1,000 miles truly does begin with the first step. If you never take that first step, you never make that first change, you're never going to get anywhere. So yes, that first step is very, very important. But what is going to be your first step? And for everybody, that's going to be a little bit different. You may be starting from ground zero where everything is not good, in that first step is something small, as in I'm going to put down this cookie that I've already eaten half of and it's going in the trash and I'm not going to pick it back up. Or you may have already taken a whole bunch of steps and you're already well into your journey. So she's asking you to score where you're at and then make a determination on what the next step looks for you. So whether you're a 0 or whether you're a 5, what does that one that takes you from 0 to 1 or 5 to 6, where does that at? She says, the next important question is, how will you know that you have reached your first or your next stopover? What would it take to get you there? What does that look like for you? And then she asks some questions. That first question is, what would a tiny bit of progress look like for you? And I was imagining back when I kind of first started my journey, and sometimes that tiny bit of progress was just one day that I did not eat something that came from a package, that I ate whole foods. Like I said, it might be putting down that half-eaten cookie that you've already taken part of. It might be that first workout. I got up, I put my workout clothes on, I showed up. It may not have been for more than 5 minutes, but I showed up. That can be your first step. What would tell you that you're making progress in that journey? Well, for me, it was building on that. Okay, I did day 1. Now I've got to do day 2. So if I'm continuing to build on that, That is showing progress for me. But what does progress look like for you? And if anybody wants to share what progress would look like for you, or how you knew that you were moving to that next step, type it in the comments. Let other people see it here. And then she tells you to write it down, tell your friend, or tell your dog. In fact, what would the dog or friend notice that you were making progress? What would they see that's making progress? And for me, looking back, it would be in like better mood stability, not having nighttime snacks. If they notice that I found an alternative to snacking at night, that would be things that they would notice. I drew 2 big arrows pointing to this next sentence. You won't think your way out of addiction, but you can act your way out of addiction. You can't hope, you have to act. During holiday time, I think I mentioned in one of my segments, my husband has this saying, and I think it's a great saying, that hope is a great feeling. It does really good things for you, but hope is an emotion. It is not necessarily going to be a good strategy or a plan. So have hope, but make a strategy and make a plan. So willpower is not a reliable friend. How many times have you just said, I need to have more willpower, I need to do better? So willpower is not a reliable friend. She said, I once heard it said that it would be better called won't power, as you are usually trying not to do something. Isn't that the truth? It's not willpower. It is, I won't do that. It's my won't power. Better to slowly build new habits. Once established, habits don't take much mental energy. They become automatic, like brushing your teeth. Eventually, you feel strange not doing that behavior. So one of the habits that I've kind of gotten into is, instead of sitting watching TV at night, I go into my bedroom and I read. When I'm watching TV in the living room, I'm triggered to want to eat. When I'm in my bedroom reading a book, I'm not triggered to eat. And now my husband's like, see ya, you're going to read. He already knows it's happening. He knows I'm not sitting down. On occasion, I'll watch a movie with him or something, but he knows that's the pattern. Let's go down underneath those eggs on that page. So there are 2 ways to think about starting this journey. You may be planning on going all in and quitting carbs. That's what Jen did. Looking back, that's what I did. It was the all or nothing. Rip that Band-Aid off, because the first one that I had, that first carb, that first sweet, that first processed food, I would want to have another one. So I had to rip the Band-Aid off and go cold turkey. The other alternative is to make those small steps that she's talking about, building the progress, getting used to brushing your teeth and it becoming second nature. So there's that. And then there's the rip your Band-Aid off kind of thing. But she's given you a word of caution. And I would like to reiterate this word of caution, that if you have certain conditions, you can't just do the rip your Band-Aid off by yourself without some assistance. And I guess you can, but it is dangerous. And here's the thing. If you're going to rip the Band-Aid off and go cold turkey, but you have diabetes, high blood pressure, chronic kidney disease, liver disease, you really need to be working with a provider who understands food addiction and who understands these health conditions that you can call and ask questions to, and that they can monitor you and pull you off of these medicines. Side note is, I know there's not a lot of those out there, and I wish there was more. We're growing in number. We're getting there. If you qualify for our weight program, I'd be happy to help you with doing that. But most docs don't understand a carbohydrate-free life. They don't understand food addiction, and they have not been taught, just as I was not taught in school, how to remove medications from patients as opposed to adding medications from patients. And there's an art to it that you have to learn. So if you have certain conditions, especially if you're all like on insulin or lots of blood pressure medicine things, you really need to be working with a provider if you're going cold turkey. If you're making the small little steps, go for it. Get started. Make that first step. Okay, let's go to page 42, where we're on the logbook. That first sentence is important. You are embarking on your own journey into carb freedom. This is your journey. It is not your friend's journey. It is not your spouse's journey. It is not your neighbor's journey. It's not the person on the cover of the magazine's journey. This is your journey. It's going to look different than everybody else's. Please don't compare your journey to everybody else's and walk your own path. All right. So some people are speedboats on their journey. Other people are on foot and they're crawling at a turtle pace. Everybody's different. But like I said, it's yours. Let it be yours. Don't compare it to other people. This next paragraph is an important one that I really want to make sure that everyone hears. So I'm gonna read it. The point of making changes and trying new things is to notice what works best for you personally. There is no food plan that will suit everyone. So it's important to pay attention to your own well being and progress. If you feel energetic without cravings, are maintaining a good weight, and sleep well, then you're doing something right. If you're tired, hungry, worried, and depressed, then something needs to change. So evaluate yourself, pay attention to how you're feeling every step during this journey. Down there next to the sailboat that says kinship, people around you can help guide you too. Ask them what they notice about you. Are you energetic, less grumpy, and whatever? We need others. We need community, and there is healing in community. That's why AA has groups. That's why other things have groups that they meet with. We need other people and the support of other people. So find others that are on this journey with you. As part of our weight program, we have our online community group, the Facebook support group. That's a great one. I'd love to start more down the road, but it's a start. But find other people that are doing this and do it with them. So page 43, in clinical practice, we use various tests to let people know how they are doing. This is where the scale thing comes in. But she points out perhaps your waist measurement, mood, or weight can be those. But here's a note about the scales. The scales, may I suggest that you don't make them a central part of your recovery. Sometimes when we get on the scale, it somehow has this power over us. And if it says 2 ounces up from yesterday, our day is ruined and our won't power is gone, and we want to go eat our sorrows. And if that scale says 2 ounces less or a half a pound less, we are elated and we're energized and let's go for that extra run and whatnot. But there are so many reasons to why that scale can go up and down. That next paragraph at the very end, she says, if the scales went up, I felt deflated and disheartened, the enemy of the emotional eater. And if it went down, I could justify eating more. So instead of her feeling energetic and going for a run or whatnot, her scales went down. So she's like, oh yeah, I can have a little bit more. That won't power went out the window therefore. So she's changed to weighing herself once a week, but she's found that waist measurements has been a more accurate thing for her as opposed to that scale measurement. So the tape measurement is a better measurement of progress, particularly if you're measuring around your belly button, because it's talking about that visceral fat, which is the most dangerous fat that we have on our body that leads to fatty liver and diabetes and cardiovascular disease, all those kind of things. But other things that you can track, which are non-scale victories, are your energy level, your mood, cravings, and your sleep. Are you sleeping more? Are you sleeping better? That kind of thing. Keep those records and think about those non-scale victories. This last paragraph on page 43, in the last paragraph of this chapter, recovery is a lifelong mission. What works will also change over time depending on your age, exercise level, health, stress, and so on. It's particularly important to learn from the mistakes and the setbacks. So if you've been here and you come in and you got your head held down and I did horrible, you notice we don't yell at you. We don't chastise you. We don't beat you with a pool noodle or anything. What do we say? Progress, not perfection. Don't beat yourself up. Learn from it and do different next time. And that's exactly what she's saying. Learn from those mistakes. Learn from those setbacks. Remember, it's a journey. Sometimes the journey's smooth and sometimes the journey's really, really bumpy. Just lessons learned and finding a new path forward. That's a big deal. You learn from it and you found something new that you do. Every day you'll have to make multiple choices around food, many, many forks in the road. So keep the destination in mind. Keep that destination that you imagine, that food freedom destination, in the forefront of your mind. And when things get tough, learn from the mistakes, but stay focused, pick up and keep going. Rely on your community, the people that you've supported, the people that you've put around you. If you don't have them, find them. Find a good healthcare provider that can help you through things if you don't have one, and remain hopeful in your journey. Hope is a great emotion and it will help you in your journey. Your strategy of the steps you're going to take to get there. both are just as important. All right, guys. So next week, we're going to move on to chapter 3, the problem and the remedy. I can't wait to join you. Later this week, I'm going to be attending the Metabolic Health Summit, which is a good continuing medical education event. I'll try to post some. Might even try to get on live from time to time and tell you about things that I am learning along the way, some fun pictures and things like that. So look for it. But next week, I'll meet you here on Tuesday. Just a reminder, we've got 2 events upcoming in 2024. The first is Nourished for Women. It's on March the 9th. Tickets are on sale now at Eventbrite. They'll be on sale until February 15th. After that, the tickets are going to close. And then Low Carb for Better Health. I can't wait. It's in August. I love that event. It is so fun. This is year 3 and it's going to be bigger. Tickets are now up for sale. We announced yesterday that Dr. Barry would be joining us again. So please go get your ticket because we sold out last year and there were some people that missed out and didn't get to come. So grab your ticket early if you want to be part of that. All right. Until next week, stay warm, stay healthy, make good decisions, stay hopeful, but work on your plan and keep taking those steps. See you later.